Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this session or this episode of Breakthrough Innovation, where we uncover what it really takes to lead change, to create value, and to build what's next. I'm Preston Chandler, and I'm here with my co host, JL Heather. And together we lead Centered. It's a firm that helps organizations navigate complexity, spark creativity, and unlock the full potential of their teams through innovation, coaching, and strategy. I'm pretty excited for today's guest. He lives at that intersection of innovation and go to market strategy, execution, and realizing revenue, actually making money from it. Paul Schmidt is the VP of AI and innovation at SmartBug Media, where he's launched more than a dozen new services and he's helped turn ideas into offerings that can actually be sold, delivered, and scaled, which might sound easy, but that's surprisingly difficult. Paul takes a product-driven approach to marketing. He focuses less on the shiny new ideas and more on the frameworks that create repeatable success. So he's been known for keeping marketing, sales, and service teams well aligned and for a perspective that challenges a lot of that conventional growth thinking, specifically that big revenue opportunities for many companies aren't in their new logos or getting new clients, but it's working with the customers that they already have. So Paul brings a no fluff operator's lens to innovation, growth, and customer marketing. Paul, welcome to Breakthrough Innovation.
Preston, JL, thank you so much for having me today. Looking forward to today's conversation.
Absolutely.
We're excited as well. We have both worked in the marketing industry, and so it's nice talking with somebody again from that industry, particularly somebody who is very forward thinking. I think one thing that JL and I have noticed about the industry is that it's often stuck like 30 years behind the times. So I want to learn from you a bit today. And you've launched a bunch of new services. You've changed things. Um, what's the most common reason that a new service fails, even when that new service could be a great idea itself?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that main reasons why new service offerings fail, which that's really where I come from, is the services-based businesses, and why services often fails because someone has a great idea and they say, we're going to build this service offering. We're going to sell it to our clients. And then they go and they do all the work of building out the process, building out all of the, all the different templates or tools that you need to be able to roll out this service. And then they try to bring it to customers. And the biggest oversight that people in innovation and services development fail is they're not thinking about it from a distribution and a marketing and a sales perspective. And so I think everybody has great ideas, but it's like before you start like going forward in the process of building out like the process and what the service actually is, you have to talk to customers, you have to talk to prospects, you have to talk to the salespeople that are going to be selling it every day, and talking through, is this something that we're seeing based on all the sales conversations that you're having? Is this something that you're actually going to be able to pitch and be able to get over the finish line? And I think one of the biggest services, this is a lesson that I've learned, and that I learned early on, is that like you may have a great idea and you may be able to build out the service offering, but is anybody going to buy it? And so I think that's a big reason why service offerings fail. The second big reason is like the service offering. If your team is not equipped to be able to deliver the service is going to fail, because you may have a great service offering and even your customers may be able to benefit from it, but if there's nobody in your team that is like equipped with the skill set to be able to roll that service offering out, then the people that are delivering the work or selling the work, they may not pitch the work because they're like, no one can deliver it successfully, and we don't want to look like fools by pitching work that we know that we can't deliver. And so I think those are like two of the biggest reasons why service offerings fail that I've seen.
Well, I love what you're saying. At the end of the day, people tend to think of innovation only as how do we come up with the neat whiz bang idea, the thing that's cool. And if you can't build it, and if customers won't, or I shouldn't say if you can't build it, if you can't provide it and customers won't buy it, obviously you're going to fail. One of the things we talk about a lot on our side of the innovation road here is the cross-functional team that is going to help you design and test your product or service before it hits the market. what I think I hear you saying, and I think we're well aligned with this, is cross functional isn't just like QA development, engineers, it's also sales, it's also marketing, right? You need to get all those people involved in the beginning, and that also includes the customers. You should bring customers into your innovation process. I think when you do all that sort of stuff, you start seeing more of what you're talking about. Do you have other examples, like, or case studies, or clients that you've worked with where you've seen this work really well?
Yeah, and we're, I had definitely have battle scars from early days of seeing services fail, but,
Yeah.
and we later on we learned that and especially with some of the new AI tools that are coming to market, you look at Lovable and Gamma, and you look at these tools that allow you to really build prototypes in less than 20 minutes. And this is where we have seen success, is being able to spin up what the service offering looks like and get this on a landing page or a
Right.
mock-up of what the service offering is. And that's where we've started to be able to get quicker feedback, as customers can understand how this fits within, how it benefits them, how it helps them reach their goals. And that's really how we've been able to be more successful, is actually getting a mock-up even quicker than we've ever been able to do. And I think that's really some of the more magical moments that we've seen in being able to use AI for service development.
So let's assume that you got that mock-up. You get it in front of potential clients or customers, and they love it and they're happy with it. What is the signal that it's still likely to fail, even though the customers like it? What is one signal that you might look for to say it will likely still fail?
I think one is if it's such a niche of a solution. So in the types of clients we work with, clients, a lot of different B2B clients across healthcare, manufacturing, senior living, and if the solution is so bespoke that it's you really have to go find the problem for your solution to fit, then that's the wrong way to look at innovation, in my opinion. I think that if it's gonna fail if there's really only maybe six other companies out there that can benefit from this type of solution that you have to go try to work your way into to try to sell them this. So I think if you think about bespoke solutions, very custom things like that, it may not work with a lot of different customers. So I think that's really where we see things fail, is that there's really not a huge market to begin with for this. So that's why I think that you have to look at I think that's why it's really important from a market research perspective. You have to look at how many companies are in the overall TAM, how many companies of that TAM could then could fit within needing a solution like this, and then how many are the right fit within that circle. So the circle, the little circle in the middle of the TAM that could benefit from that solution just keeps getting smaller and smaller the more bespoke that the solution is that you're building.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think when I was just with a client yesterday, we were talking about their innovation process and what the dropout rate should be of ideas through that process. Because you always have more ideas than you can evaluate. You always have more evaluated ideas than you can build and test. And one of the things we talked about was not only market share, but available market share. Like, what did they think they could capture? And then return on investment. If you know those two numbers, we could per unit sold, we're going to make this, and we can sell this many units, we think, that can really tell you whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. Uh, what are some of the other quantifiable metrics that you see people using to judge whether it's a go or not?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some of the quantifiable metrics is the number of companies that are. We talked about TAM, how many companies in the overall market that you could look at. You also have to look at the overall revenue that you could get from deploying that type of solution in general. If you may have a really cool idea, but if there's huge development costs and QA costs to be able to roll this out, and that the customers are only willing to pay a certain amount from it, then from a profitability perspective, you have to look at that as well. We're pretty big in the HubSpot ecosystem, the CRM space, and so that's where a lot of the solutions are that we develop. And so we kind of look at how many of the solutions that we're building are we going to be able to use native HubSpot functionality to deploy that solution, versus things that we have to go hire a developer, freelance developer, or something like that to
Yeah.
build something like that. So those are big things that we look at, is how much stuff is going to be built and supported by HubSpot versus stuff that we're going to have to build and support on an ongoing basis. Those are big things that we look at.
I think I just want to change topic a little bit here to make sure that we catch it before the end of our time. And you talk about finding customers and finding value, potentially more value in existing customers than in looking after new customers. So tell us a little bit about that. Why do you think that that's where a lot of the value resides?
Yeah, marketing and sales teams, over the course of the last decade, it's like we in analyzing them, they're so focused on bringing in new logo, new logo, new logo, and like that helps juice up like their overall valuation as an organization. The more customers that you have, but the challenge is that like if you're not able to like retain those folks over time, especially in a services based business, then like your overall valuation drops. And so I think this is a challenge and something that marketing and sales organizations, departments are evolving towards is they're not just thinking about net new logo. They're starting to think about the post-sale experience and like how they can make the customer experience better to be able to like lower churn numbers, be able to increase customer cross-sell, upsell. And that has always been an afterthought up until up to 2020, I would say, maybe even a little bit before that. But you see like the rise of like customer success teams, and customer success teams, like their real focus is retention and cross sell and upsell. And I like this is something that's been underinvested in for a long time. It's like it's been a sort of an afterthought. Like customer success was just like here, onboard them and like show them how it kind of works, and then move on to the next one. And and like that's been the issue, and where organizations can see more growth, especially within this last 5 years. The big growth lever is like enhancing your existing relationships and growing those, versus always focusing on that next shiny logo. Shiny logos are important, but if you lose sight in your current customer, you're just a sieve with big holes in the bottom of it, and you have to keep working on filling that sieve. So that's really where I think organizations are starting to turn more and starting to invest more dollars in, is really being able to keep customers around longer.
And that's interesting. I think that Press and I were just talking earlier about, or no, who was I talking to? It doesn't matter. Talking to someone earlier about kind of the idea that agencies and consultants kind of have the right idea in that a lot of the successful ones have this mantra of our goal is to get our clients promoted. Because when your clients are wildly successful, one, they're going to be more loyal. Two, they're probably going to bring you more work. And three, they're going to be a reference, a champion for you out in the marketplace. So I like that. Like if you aren't creating wild success in your clients, then they're slowly fading away. That's a lost opportunity cost.
Yeah, and I would add too, like in terms of existing customers, like continuing to enhance and grow that relationship. I think it's so important because people hop jobs from time to time,
Yeah.
and like the better the relationship that you've built over time with them, if they're moving to a similar type of company, they're going to bring you back to their next company and their next company and their next company. And we've seen that at SmartBug is like companies just this individuals that had just a great experience with us, they bring us back over and over and over again. And so like that's
Absolutely.
another goal is like how can you get those repeated customers to come back when they move on in their careers?
I think there's another aspect that is sometimes maybe overlooked. It's the value of real customers giving you feedback. And so when you work with them, when you say, what is the current issue that you have? What's an obstacle that you have? How can we improve your experience? Chances are that's going to apply to some other customer that you don't have right now. It's going to make it work even better. And I think that all too often companies don't, or they underestimate the value of the feedback from their current customers. And that is invaluable feedback. And all too often they try to go out and get like focus groups, or let's go do this external survey when they have customers that they could probably bring the customer into the room with them and to talk with them about like what are the obstacles that you're actually seeing.
Yeah, and Press, that's a great point. I think yeah, we kind of lose sight of where our current customers are and always focus on maybe trying to find this external source for validation. And I think with, if you're doing call recordings with your customers today, it's never been easier to then analyze tens, dozens, hundreds of calls in a week with AI and be able to help it point out what are those key things that are coming up each week or new issues that are popping up that your product development and innovation team needs to be thinking about solving for. And that's something we're doing a lot more of now, is like taking all those calls from one of our taking those call transcriptions, running it through AI, and being able to provide that summary on a weekly basis to our leadership team. And it's really helping like shape where new services are that we're building going forward.
I mean, I think that's an excellent application of AI, specifically in the world today where everybody's being tasked with go use AI to solve some problem. And I think I read the stat the other day that was like 95% of all AI implementations fail for a number of different reasons. And so I guess this leads to our last question. We're already we're already over time, but excuse me. So Paul, we for leaders who are listening, who have a lot of that pressure to implement or just adopt AI, what's some really grounded advice that you could give them before they go and invest another dollar in AI?
Our research shows in talking with clients and prospects that the most common investments that companies are looking to make right now is not in this grandiose like AI roadmap to solve every single challenge in their organization with some AI powered tool or agent or workflow. They want to solve immediate pain today that they have in a certain area. That could be from a very repetitive task that they have. It could be from a very cumbersome task that they have to do. And so what I recommend when we're talking with clients is like, we don't need to develop this like 5-year AI roadmap today. It's like, let's look at what things that your sales team is doing that's like making it so they aren't able to have as many calls with their prospects as possible. Or we're looking for that immediate pain. And that's really what we've been focusing in on, are like these smaller problems that help that individual who's like investing into it show value to the rest of their team, that they're able to solve a problem, even if it's a small problem, using AI. And like an example of this is like a research agent, for example. Like a research agent for salespeople, when they get a new lead that comes in, oftentimes it may take a salesperson an hour or 2 hours to like research that individual, the company, the industry, the problems that are happening in that prospect's industry. And that agent that we use for ourselves and that we're deploying for our clients does a really customized research for that organization. And so this solves a very specific problem that salespeople have, and it shortens the research time down from 2 hours down to 10 minutes. Because they just read a research briefing and they jump into that call. They're very well informed to have really in-depth conversations. And so I would just say, don't try to boil the ocean with using AI to solve every problem. Go find the top 3 problems that each of your departments are having and start focusing on those first. And that's really how we're seeing AI getting adopted early on, and trying to prevent these that stat of all these pilots failing over time.
And I I love that, Paul, and that certainly aligns with the stuff that JL and I have seen. I just want to say how grateful we are that you came on and you shared your insights with us. I love your points about making sure that you include everybody from sales and service and development to make it successful. That you're concerned about what problem are we actually solving? Is there some real problem that we're solving? And looking to your existing customer base to grow that base and to actually be able to learn from them and to serve them even better. Um, just one last thing for us, Paul. If the listeners want to reach out to you, if they want to connect with you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Paul Schmidt. Search. There's a few Paul Schmidts out there, especially in the marketing world. So just do Paul Schmidt SmartBug. You'll find me on there. You can also find me at paulschmidt.com. I put a lot of my recordings on there and writings on there. So feel free to connect with me on either of those spots, and would love to hear from all of you.
Thank you so much, Paul. And for everybody else, thank you again for listening into the end. And while you're leaving, of course, that 5-star review, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see some of your comments. We'd love to hear some of your successes and even pain points specifically around things like AI adoption and um, launching new products and services, and what are some of the obstacles that you faced? Otherwise, remember to take one tangible thing from today and go and apply it. We love doing this podcast, but if you don't go and apply it, if you don't change something in your life, it's not nearly as valuable. So again, we'd love to hear your progress. Thanks, and we will see you next time on Breakthrough Innovation.